Welcome
to the Bring Me to Life podcast.
It's time to wake up
and shine on.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Bring Me to Life podcast. Really excited to have you here. My name is Silamon, joined by Shannon Shine.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for waking up and shining on with us.
Yeah, really excited about today's episode because we have a special guest. It is Master Channel and Energy Alchemist, Ashley. And could you please pronounce your last name for everybody?
Yes, Dufresne.
Oh, I love it.
Thank you. I'm so glad I asked. You are a soul-led business mentor and you do a whole bunch of other really amazing things. So we're really excited to talk to you today.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Absolutely. So for this episode, I thought maybe we would talk about our collaboration. Before that, maybe get a little bit about you so our audience can get to know you, and then talk about some events, maybe courses that you're doing, and then we can have a little free period and some shameless plugs. Does that sound okay?
Sounds wonderful.
Beautiful. So sorry, I'm a little excited here, but could you please tell everybody where are you from and how did you get into the aspects of being a soul-led business mentor?
Yeah, I am from Michigan, just outside Detroit. And I how did I get into soul-led business mentorship? That's a really good question. I'd say that it started with my own personal journey, being a channel. I've been a channel my whole life and started honing or finding my gifts when I was 19. So I've been doing this work for over a decade, being 30 now. And I found that coming from a very rational, logical minded society, and just I'm a Virgo and I got a ton of earth in my chart. I tend to just look for evidence-based everything. And so I had this constant conflict with my life of hearing, and channeled guidance and having my very loud ego, logical brain, just fighting constantly. And so when I started my business as a healer and channel, I noticed that, I really wanted my business to do well. I didn't want this to fail. I knew it was my purpose and I didn't want to mess this up. And so I wanted to, my ego took the driver's seat and I'm like, okay, I got to find the best strategies. I got to find the best systems, need the best support. I'm going to do this perfect. It's going to be impeccable. I'm going to have the quickest timeline to success possible. Mm-hmm. And I completely threw channeling out the door. Any intuitive pulls, any channeled guidance, I'm like, no, screw you. It's not backed. I want to make this perfect. It's got to be logical. And I struggled in my business. I struggled. And it's hilarious to think about hello, you're a channel. Why wouldn't you be channeling on your business, right? But I was so stuck in survival mode and needing everything to be perfect that I felt like I was running my business from this trauma response, ego-led living. And I was constantly in panic attacks. I'm laughing about it now because I'm like, wow, what a difference. In panic attacks, freaking out about imperfections and failed launches and trying all the things and nothing was working. And yeah, as soon as I shifted over into leading with my channel, leading with my soul, everything changed. I went from struggling to making 5-figure months almost instantaneously. And it just continued to evolve and grow, and my business expanded. And here I am now teaching other intuitives how to turn down the volume of their ego and turn up the volume of their soul.
Beautiful. I can resonate with that kind of visual experience a lot, and just wanting that determination factor to especially as a woman, being very business driven, you almost feel like you have to do everything by a certain playbook to be seen, witnessed, and respected, when really as a feminine leader, it's better to go from your intuition and to tap into that channeling. Not saying that the masculine energy can't. It's just something I've noticed a lot of female entrepreneurs struggle with, is that like desire to be seen and respected and like playing by the rules of business. And that's not how we make it to the top. It's when we tap into that channel and really feel the flows and the ebbs and flows of our personal energy as well, that has been powerful in the growth process. So that's a beautiful way of putting it.
Oh my gosh, yes. So well put. Thank you.
So like you said, you had been in a channel your whole life. Does that mean like ever since you could remember you've been in a channel?
Yeah.
And what did you like, do you remember your earliest memory of I'm channeling right now, or just like realizing afterward, oh, that was like that?
So I was raised Catholic. So I did not know it was called channeling. I thought I was being haunted.
Oh, dang, yeah.
Also resonate.
I'm a medium as well. I don't really do mediumship in my work because I don't see it being as supportive for business owners. So I don't really promote it. But when I was really young, it was mostly mediumship that would come in. And then when I would channel, I thought they were angels, because that was the only, that was my relation to something higher dimensional. And so I remember being really young, and spirits would visit me all the time. And I thought I was haunted. Yeah, it was terrifying. And it's what I have a lot of supernatural trauma, is what I call it, that blocked me from my channeling and made me really scared of my spiritual gifts. And after unpacking and healing that, I've been able to really step into my full power as a channel. But yeah, for as long as I remember receiving, being visited by spirits, hearing angels download messages. I had psychic gifts, so I would know things were going to happen before they did. So, I knew when my grandmother was going to pass before she did. And I remember telling my mom was like, no, that's not going to happen. And, of course it did. And, knowing just things that I shouldn't have known, being so young, having the burden of like holding that and just not getting it. I struggled. It wasn't cool. It sounds like it's really cool being a channeler your whole life. Like, wow, you've been gifted with foresight, lucky you. And honestly, it felt like such a burden, especially not having a mentor or a guide to validate me. One, I felt like I was crazy, but to not have any guidance on what's going on and how to utilize this, and to feel safe with my gifts.
Yeah, that was, I know that was like such a resonating thing too. We have so much in common and interesting journeys, because I also would share to my family things and they just were not having it. And then things would happen and they would kind of like blame me for them. And I was just so frustrating. So it made me hide from the channeling aspect as well. But a couple of other things that you commented on were the not having a mentor and the feelings of being crazy. And one of our catchphrases is actually, you're not crazy, you're just waking up. And it's like you're tapping into that ability to realize that, we have the opportunity to connect with beings that aren't in the same human physical bodies that we're used to. And I heard a lot of what you had to say about the mediumship and stuff, but if you were trying to explain like channeling in general to someone, like what does that feel like outside of the mediumship portion? Like, how do you know that it is something that's channeling through you that maybe isn't your own ego or a spirit, so to say, that is like, do you consider it creator that you're channeling, or angels, or a specific entity? Like, I know I just asked like 4 questions in one, but I feel like you'll channel through that and figure out the best response.
So I'm hearing is, how do you differentiate between mediumship and channeling? Like, how can you tell?
And like, what is your differentiate situation? Like, what do you consider channeling, and what is it that you are channeling?
So I channel. So channeling to me is being able to tap in and access guidance, wisdom, transmissions beyond the 3rd dimension. So higher dimensional wisdom, guidance, insight. And mediumship feels different. If experience both, what I'm talking about. It's not something that can logically be explained, but the best way I can describe it is like tuning a radio.
Mhm.
You know, it's
For
if you're an
sure.
AM, you can feel the difference. Like it's, you know, that's mediumship, and then you shift it to FM, and then, you know, you're tuned to a different frequency. And so in mediumship, it just feels like you're connecting to, like if you're intuitive, you're probably listening to, if you're listening to this, you're probably intuitive. So when you pick up on someone next to you, you can feel their energy. It feels very similar when you're doing mediumship, where when you're
It's like
channeling,
heavier.
yes, it does. It feels heavier. Exactly. But when you're channeling, it feels lighter. It feels more expansive. It feels activating because you're receiving these high dimensional frequencies as you're channeling, right? It's not just words, it's a vibration, it's a transmission. And so for me personally, who I channel a range of beings, and over my years have worked on honing and refining who I channel and knowing who's coming in based on what I'm feeling or experiencing. So I work with some fun ones. I work with angels, archangels, ascended masters, of course, you know, spirits of nature, animal spirits. And I also work with galactic councils of the highest light and order. And those ones are really interesting. When I started really attuning to these galactic councils, like that was when I felt like I was the craziest. I'm like, okay, so now I'm not just talking to my spirit guides, I'm talking to aliens. Is that right, Ashley? That's what's happening? Okay, cool. All right, just making sure we're all on the same page.
That's funny. I think that definitely ties in with a lot of like our vibe here at Bring Me to Life. And just like we did a lot of starseed discussions for sure, like when we were going. But
yeah, we did a channeling series there for a while, and that was the question I got the most, was like, who are you channeling? And I'll just be like, you know, like the higher frequency. And they're like, so you're channeling God? And it's like, not exactly. There's like something different there. It's like the universe. Sometimes it's a specific angel, but yeah, the question usually is like, what is it or who is it you're channeling? It's like our human minds want to put a name and like a figure face or something to this energy, and it's just not that way.
Yeah, I would like to say when I first started to look into like spirituality, chakras, meditation, I started reading about other people channeling. And I remember my first time like letting something kind of come through and use like my voice and things like that. And I was walking home from work one day, and it was late at night, but it was nice and warm, and there were all these frogs like super happy, just like running around the road. And for some reason, like one of them just like stopped me in my tracks, and I looked down and this frog is just staring at me. So I pick it up and we're just like having a moment. And all of a sudden I start talking like this really like crazy intelligent stuff that sounded just like Terrence McKenna. And I was like, whoa, I sound just like him. And it wasn't until later that I was like, holy shit, I feel like I was channeling him. Like, and he was telling me about life and
Through the frog
and stuff. And I was like, that was really crazy. I've definitely like done a lot of vocal channeling where I let them kind of like use my voice, but I was curious for either of you, like what do you do the most of? Do you like do a channeling where you like receive and then kind of like transmit in your own way, or is it like through writing? So like, what is it for you?
I'll go first. I receive channeling most through, you know, I feel like it's changed over the years. It's kind of interesting working with the psychic senses. Now I feel like I will see visuals and hear voices most. I think earlier in my channeling, I would have body sensations and downloaded knowing. It's just like a sense, like a knowing. But yeah, I've actually recently been playing with trance channeling, and that's been really fun to explore.
So like I feel like I've been in a trance when I've beat on a drum, but how's it come through for you?
For me, I go into a trance. I like step out of the way and I call in. I've actually so I have been just opening up the space for my guides, high dimensional beings to come in, but I've noticed that the Council of Light likes to be like they're kind of like the mediators, you know, like they'll come in and they'll speak to my client and then they'll open the like space up for other beings to come in and speak, but like they're kind of like holding the ground, like basically in my body. for me, and I'm just like witnessing it. So I'm not tapping into my full trance state because I am still witnessing. I may not remember all of it, but I'll remember parts of it. But it's been really fun to play with and explore. It's definitely like pushing my edge of control.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's powerful.
I love that.
Yeah. So to answer your question real quick, and then I have like 2 questions for you. Mine's more intuitive downloading. It's like, it's in the moment. It's one of those things where I'll find myself talking to people, whether it's a client, a person, or just in a situation, and it just will like flow out of me naturally. And then even I'm like, where did that come from? Like, okay. I think as I was younger, it started out as writing, and I would like write a lot of things in rhyme, and like almost like it was supposed to be a song in my head, but like I just would write it. And it wasn't me. It always was like this vibration or this combination of analogies or something in like a rhythm. And it was very Fae-like. And it was just like, okay. So that was like one of the things that helped me channel a lot as a kid. And now I'm sort of in a similar position where I'll be like, all right, I'm going to meditate and welcome in one of the angels. Cause I found that I do resonate a lot with the angels, but I have also wondered if it's my ego trying to put like a persona to said specific channel of almost like that voice of the download, so I can start to differentiate the different frequencies of the radio as well. But that brings me to my question for you is, when you talk about the light council, I'm curious if you had to give a number to how many are in that council, what number would you give them? Like how many of them are involved in it? Because we've had a similar discussion.
Great question. I've never even thought to ask. I like haven't. I could probably ask. It feels like a lot. It almost feels like a number that's like unquantum, like I think our human selves are like, let's put this in a box. What's your name? How many are you? You know, and I think that it's so high dimensional that I think we're not comprehending like what's happening. I think a lot of things I kind of just let go. I'm like, I think I'm too human for this answer. Like,
no, that makes sense.
That's a really good question. I don't know.
That makes sense. And I like that answer. The reason I asked is there was a while where Sila and I were connecting with our channeling experience, and we both had this council that we would call the high council as well. And I'm like, I'm almost like, I don't want to tell you the number because I don't want it to sway if you get asked, but we both, before we met each other, kept talking about the Council of 13 and channeling the Council of 13. But in that 13, I was one of them. Like I was seeing it from one of their perspectives as one of the beings in the circle. And when you said how sometimes you'll like be there and you're present, but they're talking to you, it was a similar vibration. And I'm like, I think, I do. There's like a couple of different paintings. I'm kind of glad we're doing this on a video as well. So if you're listening to the audio, there's a video, but there's this picture that explains it best, where there's these like 13 light beings. And then the one up top that is like getting the channeled information. And when I found this painting, it like blew my mind in like a channeling perspective, because it like, again, gave me the visual as an artist to understand the Council of 13.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I remember being in Hawaii, going through like an astral projection with some kind of angel. I think it was Raphael who was like guiding me through a bunch of stuff, but we ended up, and it looked just like Hawaii, and it was this space, and in the center of it was a giant earth, and on earth were different points of like red that were like, I guess, like very important like parts of the map. And then there were 13, and I was one of them, and we were all wearing like these dark hoods, and I don't remember what was said. I just remember like seeing everybody around and be like, whoa. And in that moment, it felt like there were angels. Like all of them were like a different form or a different kind of angel, like a different energy.
That's kind of my other perspective of it too. Like if they're not the council, then they're the archetypes that the angels have started to represent. And again, it's that human perspective of trying to give it a specific channel and the frequency, so you know who or what it's you're channeling. So I was curious on your perspective of that. I'm not trying to like take over your channeling perspective.
No, this is great. I have heard of and have experienced the Council of 13. I had a client, it was years ago, that they would channel in for, and I completely forgot about them.
Cool.
I remember the client was from Ohio. That's all I remember. And it had a very similar story too, where they like had visuals of like having this robe and being a part of this. And that's the last time I have connected with that. But how interesting is that? How cool.
So you have connected with it through the channeling grapevine.
Exactly. I channeled it. I've channeled them for a client, but they're not typically somebody I will channel them.
Still pretty cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks for connecting on that with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's just like
Cool.
so many like energies and frequencies that we can channel. And yeah, I like how we all with our minds and our consciousness kind of like it translates into some like humanoid figure or something.
Except for the okay, who is it? The mantis beings. Have you ever channeled the mantis beings?
Maybe when there's a mantis like hanging out in my head for like
Yeah, you hang out with
hours.
praying mantis like him. He tracks them somehow. I've had them in my dreams, so that they've kind of been very interesting beings in my dreams, but I can't say I would channel them.
Yeah, I don't know it being like a specific like energy being that has I guess they all have symbols, but you don't think of it as like there's specific mantis beings out there like helping, or I don't know what they're doing. Could you tell us more about them?
Yeah, they're a high dimensional extraterrestrial collective, and they're fascinating. They're terrifying though to look at, and I feel bad about it. They're definitely like the ones where like it took me a while where I'm like, hey, can you just appear different? And they would appear different. They would wear a cloak and like they're really long and had more of a human figure, but their face was so scary. And the more I channeled them, the more they would take their own form and I wouldn't be as scared. But they're probably the one being that I'm like, oh, please.
I could see where they would be the ones that make you feel slightly crazy. Like, okay, what is this?
I imagine they probably get a lot.
Poor guys. Poor
I
creatures.
know, right? I do. I felt really bad about it, but eventually I could channel them in their form. But I recommend it, especially so Suleiman, if you have been channeling them, call them in. They're really great. They're a really great collective to work with.
I wonder if like their energy was kind of embedded onto this earth. Like, have you ever heard the theory that Earth is kind of like a melting pot for all different species from like all over the galaxy or universe?
Yeah, definitely.
So maybe they're like, maybe part of their energy is like what mantis.
For sure.
Yeah.
Flying mantis, is that what?
I always kind of see that, like, I like to think animals are kind of channeled from different planets too, as part of that.
Have you ever seen a red panda?
Don't get me started on the red panda. But that like bugs, like all different forms of bugs and like insect creatures come from like the mantis planet. And then like all mammals come from like a similar planet. That's why we connect with like whales and dolphins, and like the different animal kingdoms kind of come from similar planets. And then we're the melting pot to try to see how we can all integrate together. That's kind of what and like the Noah's Ark thing always comes to my brain. I'm like, Noah's Ark was just them trying to tell us we came here on a spaceship.
I didn't think about that. Maybe. Oh my gosh, that's great. And I do think so. I really think that, I mean, when I see a mantis, like it tends to be in correlation, whether I channeled them before or after, like there's connections there, like definitely. I mean, look at dogs and cats. I mean, we know, what is it? Shoot, can't remember the name.
Illyrians.
Okay, there we go. Thank you.
Yeah,
that's one of my planets. But they do. What'd you say?
I've been channeling them recently, so go on. Tell me more.
They've been kind of one of my channels for a long time. I used to have sort of, my channeling started when I was a teenager in a lot of ways, like when I was younger. Yeah. But again, I didn't realize what I was doing. And I used to have dreams of the Lyrians as their cat-like forms. So when the Avatar movie came out, I was like, someone's in my head. Like they're like, I realized I wasn't alone kind of thing. Like when the blue Avatar movie came out, I was like, holy shit, this is real. Like there's someone else out there, enough people to put together this like high class movie. And then if you've never read the book Prism of Lyra as a channeler, and just knowing what you just talked about, I think you would love it. I don't necessarily, it's here somewhere, but Prism of Lyra, you can actually get a free PDF version. If you look up Prism of Lyra PDF, you can download it. And it talks about all the different galactic species and what parts of the earth they kind of were placed in, and like how it's played out in movies and shows, and how people are channeling the history of the galactic worlds into our entertainment and things like that. And it was just like,
whoa, I am really interested in checking this out.
like
I have a question for you if you're really connected with them. Okay, so I had this like profound womb healing in Sedona, of course, last weekend. And in it, I channeled Lyran, a Lyran being, but they were like half mermaid. And I was like Googling it, trying to look it up. I'm like, who is this? Is this a thing? Is it a thing?
I believe so. Did it still have like a feline mermaid-esque energy to it? So there were also some that I think could fly in a certain way. So there were the cat beings, there were like mer type beings, and they almost
We're gonna
had
see the mer beings in the Avatar too.
That's awesome. There you go. Then yes, the mer people. So you're not alone in that
Yeah,
channeling.
you're gonna see it in Avatar too.
They're like half the feline, and then like
they're like water creatures.
Yeah. So there was a species for every element. There was one that was like, they almost looked like burnt creatures, almost dragon-like reptilian cats that were for fire because they could live through the heat extremes of the planet. Then there were the mer people that were also, they all have like a feline or almost like a dog-like persona. And then from my understanding, when the war happened on Lyra, we're getting on quite a tangent here, but when the war happened on Lyra, they went to like Sirius and a couple of other places and started mating with the more dog-like beings. And there was like this whole process. But yes, there are mer-like versions of them. You are not alone in that channeling.
Wow. Okay. I like was Googling it. It's been a long time since I like Googled things, but I'm like, I've never heard of this. Is this, did I mix something up here? I was like so out of it. Like it was profound and like so clear. I saw them so clearly. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's very rare I get to get into those conversations in such depth. So that was
same.
Nice.
This is wonderful.
Nice. I'm curious. Like now, I'm really curious about Avatar 2. What those beings will be like.
Yeah.
Nice. So that's really exciting. I guess we can get maybe into the collaboration that we did together.
Just thinking that. Yes.
Nice. So kind of like I'm curious, in your perspective, could you describe this meditation? It was led by you, and then I provided some music. So like, could you tell us what the guidance is like?
So this meditation is more like it's like a quantum healing and couples therapy session with money combined. To me, it's like a whole session, like if you're looking for just a relaxing meditation, don't do this one. If you're looking for a profound transformation with your relationship with money, this is going to be your thing. So I made it for my students who were in my mastermind. And so the intention was like, I hear a lot of spiritual entrepreneurs struggle with money. Like there's a lot of stories around money. We learn money is evil. We have the wounded healer and like the poor healer story, or the starving artist. And I really deeply believe that when light workers, these spiritual leaders, these change makers have the money, that's like money is power. And, unfortunately, it's the way our society is. So money is power. And when money is in the right hands, we can make massive change. So for me, the idea of seeing people like us making millions, like the whole world becomes just such a magical and joyous and healing place. And so this guided journey, it's a meditation, it's a guided healing journey, is all about awakening the luscious and pleasurable relationship with money. So it isn't just one that's like, well, I'm okay with money, I can look at it and sit with it and we're good. But instead it's like, you get to have a really intimate and intentional and beautifully expansive relationship with money, where you're excited to be in space with money and call it in, and you're able to unpack and release the shit that's been keeping you from that profound and birthright experience with it.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think if we all could call that in, it would be so amazing. I was actually just talking about this earlier today with one of my friends and saying, I would really love to have $1 billion and be able to like come back to the city and like take over a few buildings and like really create a really amazing reality.
Yeah, because that's what is happening is there's so many visionaries that we want the money, but it's almost like we feel our dreams are so big that they're unattainable, but yet we know we have the ability to manifest our reality. So it's all this programming. So that's my next question for you, Ashley, is then what was it that flipped the switch for you and helped you kind of break free of those money wounds to tap into that relationship?
Oh boy, that was a long journey. It definitely wasn't in one sitting, I'll tell you that.
Which is good for people to know too, because they think it's just like, what's wrong with me? I did the meditations, I did the things. And like, even with this meditation, like you might have to listen to it multiple times to really integrate it.
100%, you're 100% right. My story with money is I hated it. I was homeless. I used to live in my car. I would forage food. I would dumpster dive. My whole life was rock climbing and, doing free healing sessions and basically giving myself away and receiving nothing in return, because I had such a repulsive relationship with money. So for me, I had to unpack a whole lot of stuff of like, okay, what is it that I'm like, how am I approaching money right now? Like, why do I have this view? And, it's about really confronting my biases. I believed that people with money were evil. I felt, millionaires and billionaires were the problem with the world. I believe that by me having money, I was feeding into the toxic capitalistic society that oppressed people. And I believe that if I were to be doing that, then I would be just another cog in the machine, creating more separation and more problems. And so for me, I had to actually anchor into what was the switch for me was anchoring into my belief that my mission, my purpose was not just worthy of money, but going to create the change that I wanted to see. That the only way for me to make the change that I wanted to see in the planet was for me to get in and have the money so I can have the power and resources to see the change. A lot of it was, I thought it was money, but I think it was worthiness stories. Like I didn't feel like I was worthy enough to receive. So in addition to having money stories, I also felt like I was doing the best for the planet by receiving the least. Like make the least impacts, take the least, don't consume, like live in the shadows and live off the trash of others. I thought that was the best and most sustainable way to live. And I was really just starving myself of my desires and basically telling myself I wasn't worthy of what I desired. And so in healing my relationship with money, I healed my receiving wounds and allowed myself to claim what I desire and receive what I desire and do it in a way that isn't like, okay, I want this. Oh my God, no, I feel so bad for having it, but actually luxuriated in what I'm receiving. And I think it's shifted the way that I show up in the world, and it shifts the way people even give to me. Clients as they give money to me, or when people, give things to me. Like I think it just shifts the frequency that I feel like by me doing my healing work with money, it's created a ripple effect with my community and my clients and so on. Like I said, definitely not a one and done healing, but I really truly believe that when visionaries and healers and channelers and people who want to see change, like good change in the world, reclaim their power and allow themselves to be visible, be big, and have money. My gosh, like what's possible? Like just think of like your top favorite people, like the best people that you know. Now imagine them with like $3 billion.
What a feeling.
Just those 5 people, you know, like so much good will happen. And that's what's possible when we all heal our relationship with money. I think what really moved me was like thinking about, if I don't do this, if I don't make money, if I keep playing out the story, then the people who don't care about other people, the people who are just destroying the planet, they're going to keep staying on top. And the people who are trying to make a change are going to keep starving. And I'm feeding that system by hating money. I am a part of that story in creating that separation. But by changing my story, I feel like I'm creating, I'm lessening that gap and creating more opportunities for people to see that it's possible to go from dirtbag to, you know, scaling their business to $500,000 and see that it's possible. You know, you can be a healer and make massive impact and help a lot of people and make a lot of money. And it's great.
I would say I definitely came from like a similar relationship with money for a long time and ended up like traveling around the country with no money. And it was nice, but it was also like very difficult. Like there were nights where we didn't have any food to eat, and that was definitely like a hard aspect of it. But I definitely think that in my personal opinion, perhaps, you know, whoever were the powers at the time were like, maybe let's somehow integrate this idea into those really like thoughtful, compassionate people who want to see good things happen, that like all the root of all evil is money. And by like what you're saying, like having this money, like they're participating in like an evil thing. Maybe that was like an idea implanted so that we wouldn't break out of that motherfucking cycle and be like, yo, dude, we all deserve this money, which isn't like an evil thing. It's just a symbolism for the energy.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Thanks. I don't know. It looked like you want to say something.
I was just kind of agreeing. I definitely think it was a program that has been in place on the collective to keep adding to the lower vibration of keeping us trapped to do, I like to call muggle jobs, like the jobs that of those that like, you know, like we do need people to hold certain positions to help the world go around, but those powers to be like to push as many people down as possible. Some people actually really enjoy having very routine or what some may consider mundane jobs, where others like to be pushed upon their boundaries. So it's like really what's a comfort level for other people. But what you're saying is true. There's many of us that feel like in like your journey, like we felt like we were doing a service to the world by not feeding into, you know, the idea of currency. For me, it switched when I started to realize, like you said, that money is energy, and energy is something that creates the whole experience that is kind of life. And I want to say it was a book that I read. Maybe It's Not Your Money, where the author explained. Did you read that too?
Jen Sincero, I know what you're speaking of. Go on. I love this.
And she I believe it was she explained it as we are the wallets of the universe. And as we feel that we are worthy of being gifted things from the universe, then we have the ability to then give back to others. And it kind of goes in alignment with a quote that I love by Marianne Williamson, where we feel into our power, we give others the ability to do the same. So when we feel we have enough to give away to others, other people begin to see like, wow, that person's a powerful manifester. I want to be more like them. I'm going to continue to give. And then it creates this ricochet effect. So the more of us that believe money is an attainable energy and just an exchanging of energy and not this thing you must work for, then spirit, God, universe, whatever you want to call it, has the ability to work through us as beings to start giving us everything we need, whether it's money, abundance, a house, a computer, whatever it is. I try to remind people I work with too, like, it's not just money of that abundance. It's, oh, I really need a computer. Your mind instantly goes, oh, I need several $1,000s. It's no, how do I feel into the idea of a computer? Someone could give you a computer. Are you going to turn down that computer because you think you need those several $1,000s? No, you just need to call in that energy and feel that you deserve it and stop thinking it has to be, oh, I have to work X amount of hours to get this X amount of money to get this thing. And that was the programming, is the the payment by hour, or this like you must be worthy of this amount to receive, and that's messed up. And I'm so glad you're helping people break out of it.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Oh my gosh, I'm just, yes. The money is currency, and currency is energy. Like shifting that mindset and seeing that, like that's so beautiful and so key to shifting a relationship. Love it.
So if anybody's interested in the meditation, they can find that in the description. There'll be a link there for everybody. And I thought it was really amazing. I was so super grateful that you reached out, because I love meditation, creating meditations, creating meditation music. So when people reach out to ask about like working with me, asking for music or anything, that is really amazing. So thank you for reaching out about that.
Yeah, of course. Thank my guides. They asked.
Thank you, Ashley's guides.
Bringing it together.
And it was the perfect sound too. Your sound is channeled abundance, right? It's the frequency of abundance. Like what a perfect pairing for this work.
Yeah, I'm super grateful that you got to work with that, and it was awesome to work with you. I've definitely been a part of some of your like business groups, and we actually met our friend BP, who people probably know of, from like those. So you definitely create and call in like a good group of people, and really excited to see like things you have moving forward and the community that you continue to grow.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I feel very blessed. It's something that I feel gratitude for every day. Is I feel like I do work with the most incredible people. Like the people in my community are magical, and every day I'm like, whoa, like how did I get so lucky to work with such incredible people and to be surrounded with such inspiring people? Like, wow, what a gift. Truly a gift.
That's beautiful. What are some of the things you're most excited about that you're offering right now, or what are things you would like to share with an audience so they understand even more about what you offer?
Yeah, kind of a change of pace. I'm I channeled a program that's not related to business, which is the first time in a while. And it's called Divine Connection. It is a 6-week live journey with me to cultivate an empowering relationship with your guides and master your gift of channeling. And I'm so stoked about this container because it's like nothing I've ever done before. I usually create really like structured, module formed of like lots of different like trainings and things. And this container is so different. It's so fluid. It's so open. It's so playful. And it's truly a journey. Like every time I say program or course, my guides are like, nope, it's not that. It's not that. And so this journey is such a playful experience for intuitives and channelers to deepen their connection and to deepen an intimacy with their guides and undergo their unique process of mastery, whether it is honing and refining and differentiating who the different guides are that they work with or different collectives that they work with, or it is unpacking their supernatural trauma and clearing and healing that so they can open up to their full potential, or it's deepening in their trust and calibrating their nervous system to feel safe in following their channeled guidance. So this container I'm so very excited about because I feel like the number one thing people come to me for or refer people to me for is to develop their gift of channeling. And I feel like I finally have an offer where I can do that. Well, outside of one-on-one.
That's beautiful. And I'm really grateful that you're doing that for the world. I know we know a lot of people that are like really still kind of trying to like learn and develop that intuition, develop that like, okay, this is a good energy to channel, or like this is a helpful one, and to like kind of differentiate between which ones maybe are you want to like move away from, maybe ones that aren't aligned with like your highest good at that point.
Yeah, I understand that. That was one of my biggest fears of channeling. I was like, this is good. I don't know. Is this safe? So I hear that. I actually did a free training today on Instagram that I cover that of how to differentiate. So if someone is experiencing that, I have a bunch of free trainings on channeling on my Instagram.
Nice.
Perfect. Do you have one that explains how to maybe like ground and protect yourself? Is that where people could find that kind of information as well? Or is that something you might offer in the future?
I do have that somewhere. Oh my goodness. I feel like I have so many trainings and stuff. I know for sure I have it inside of my Reclaim Your Balance. It's a mini course. I forget how much it is. I think it's definitely under $100. And I know that I teach thoroughly how to create sacred space, clear your space, and then I teach my proven like master channel formula to do the step-by-step process to make sure, you know, everything's good. Of course, like you don't need that, but when you're beginning to channel, it's nice to have that. Like, okay, am I doing all the boxes? Am I safe? Okay, I'm good. And I've heard a lot of my clients really love that formula. It's something that your tangible mind can look at and do while opening you to receiving the highest frequencies you channel.
So all the courses that you offer, are those on your website? Is that where people can find those? Your email list, perhaps?
I think the best is to DM me on Instagram. I know that sounds, but for the smaller courses, just DM me and I'll send you the link. I don't really have them accessible, unfortunately.
And what is your Instagram handle?
Can you like spell it for us?
Yeah. Yes, I will spell it because everyone wants to spell Dufresne, not Dufresne. Right. So my Instagram handle is Ashley Dufresne. So it's ASHLEY.DUFRESNE.
Beautiful.
That's it.
Thank you. Yeah, I got a silent S on there.
Yeah, and we'll drop it in the comments in the review section as well as the link. But thank you for spelling it, because there's different ways to spell Ashley too. I'm sure it can confuse people. So
yeah. What I always tell people is, if they don't know how to say my last name, go watch Shawshank Redemption. Have you ever seen Shawshank Redemption?
For sure.
Andy Dufresne
today.
Okay, well then you knew how to say my name.
Who is it? What's the character?
Andy Dufresne.
That's like the guy who, the main character. Okay. Nice.
Yep. There you go.
I need to watch that movie again.
Cool. Well, before we round out, then, is there anything else you feel channeling through you that wants to go out to the world?
Yeah. Let it come out.
Yeah, there has been this message coming out recently, and it desires to come through again around following your intuition, following your intuitive nudges. This, when you begin to follow your intuitive nudges, whether they're small to begin with or there's something grandiose, you're reprogramming the way that you're living and the life that you're creating. It's a true paradigm shift. It's how you shift out of survival mode and step into thriving mode. So if you desire to be living a life where you're thriving, where you're in ease, where you're in pleasure, where you're just living your best life, your best move is to begin with following those tiny little intuitive nudges. It might be the intuitive nudge to call a friend, or it might be the intuitive nudge to, open your email, or to, follow this path instead of that one on the way home. Whatever it is, just start taking those little acts of intuition sincerely and say yes to them, because the more and more you say yes to those intuitive nudges, the more and more you're strengthening your trust in them, and you're actually opening your channel to receive more and to receive clearer messages that are going to greatly, profoundly change your life towards the direction of thriving.
I love it.
Is there a clap button?
There's not on this app, but thank you for that. That was amazing. We'll channel some claps your way. Applause, that's the word I was looking for. We'll channel some applause your way.
Can you just think of all the Sin Masters and all the angels just like,
yes.
I love that you I know for those that are listening audio, they couldn't see that you closed your eyes and went into the zone and just channeled that so fluently. And I love that, because when I channel too, I look off, and people used to be like, why do you look off when you speak? And I'm
what are you looking at?
It's not that, it's what we do. It comes through easier because you're disconnecting from that physical world. So I loved seeing you just pull that through there. That was amazing.
Yeah, I feel like when I'm looking, my ego wants to be like, oh, what's that? Or they look at, it wants to step in the driver's seat. And when you close your eyes, you can just totally tap out of, like you said, the physical, and let what's moving through you from the high dimensional freely flow.
Love it. Love it. What a good discussion.
Yeah. I definitely agree. And thank you for being on. Thank you for everything that you do for the world. Really excited about being your friend and being like a witness to the glory that you're creating with everyone. And
I'm excited to check out the collaboration. So that's exciting. Excited.
I
for
love
guys.
you both. Thank you so much for inviting me into this space. This was so much fun, so enjoyable.
Well, feel free to reach out and follow your channel to come back at any time. And I hope you have a blessed rest of your day.
Thank you. You too. Bye.
Stay with.
And shine on us.
For many of us, spirituality is just the quest to find essence or true meaning and to really just connect with a higher consciousness.
Connecting with your spirituality is very important in this life. By becoming mindful of all of that, you can realize where you are and if that is leading you to where you want to go.
Listen to the little simple things, because it's those little simple things that are going to shift you vibrationally in such a way that will prepare you to become very intuitively minded and ready to step forward on the next part of your path.
I hope you can feel the love that's inside you, it's inside me, that connects us.
Thanks for shining on with us.